I just don't know what Joe Budden seats mean, and because I have so much relationship equity with Fat Joe, I'll wait for him to tell me. I don't want to assume. Maybe Joe Budden seats just means sitting behind somebody you make a lot more than. Until we get clarity on it, we won't really know. But be clear, reimagine how y'all mention my name in some of these conversations. I make a lot more than you niggas.
Now it's looking like it's another beef brewing up in the podcast streets. Now, y'all know Fat Joe and Jedakus started a podcast recently, and it's looking like Fat Joe was throwing a couple of shots at the podfather, Joe Budden. And he was talking about how Joe was sitting behind 50 Cent at the Knicks game. They're going to play what Fat Joe said, but y'all lock in, like the video, and subscribe. Let's get it.
And I've stumbled upon a great new podcast. Have you seen this new podcast?
Which one?
It's Jedakus and Fat Joe. Anybody caught it?
Yes. I've seen 2 of the episodes, yeah.
Oh, the whole... Okay, dope. It was
I didn't
really
watch
dope.
the most recent one, though.
No, I think they thought it was going to be easy.
I was about to say, they thought it was going to be easy.
And then they get on there, then they realize that we don't care. Like, everybody's talking, so all we care.
Right.
And then they start, figuring out what's
You got to make a splash.
Hey, how you got to make a splash. You got to make some noise in the podcast.
You got to make a splash.
And by the way, it's been aired on the 3rd episode. We didn't start seeing clips from the 3rd episode until they made a splash.
Yeah, can we talk about that splash a little bit?
I saw clips from the second
I was about to say, I
episode.
saw the second episode
but,
clips.
but I chose not.
And even those clips were what appear to be attempts to be
It was a bait.
splash.
A little bait.
Yeah, a little bait.
Chum the water a little bit.
Absolutely.
But I didn't think it was about me because I got a hit.
You say that again? Oh, right.
Second episode.
And I don't think that was about you.
I didn't take it that way.
Then I heard this one.
I just want to let it be known, under normal circumstances, I would charge the volume and Boost Mobile for this airtime on this broadcast. But Mark that's my man. He want to let it go for free. I'm going to oblige.
Look, I'm here with the home team. We ain't got to play
just this one time.
We
No,
can just
play
talk
it.
about
No,
it.
please, play it. I'm being dramatic.
Okay.
Please.
I don't want to be triggering though. I'm trying to be mindful of that.
On 5 row, I gotta be front row.
So you want all the
Cause somebody you don't like, your enemy, gonna come sit right. You know that we call that the Joe Budden seats. You know them second row.
I don't even got
You
a
ain't got a
hood.
hoodie.
I don't even got a hood.
Yo, listen, them second, third row, I can't do it. I gotta sit front row. I'll give you my experience.
What do you call them seats?
The Joe Budden seats. Them shit second row. You know, perfect example. Him and 50 got some shit, and I'm sitting courtside. If 50 comes
He was
sit,
right behind y'all.
okay, but he's behind us.
Those were still considered floor seats.
Those
if you
are
know
great.
anything.
Listen,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's AA and BB.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the man had a little something going on with 50, and why God put 50 Cent front row, and he's in like third row.
I don't think that was
that would
God.
bother me if I was Joe Buttons.
No,
It happened to
And
me.
he put the S back on your
It
name.
happened to me before. When we
Now
just
listen,
squashed
if he
him,
didn't bump in the 5th, would he have a nice experience?
you got a good seat, but the problem is you got to always expect the enemy might come front row.
All y'all doing is playing into his hand.
Yeah, it's
Right.
That's the whole point. You play in his hands, he say something, it keep going up. But I think he knew what he was doing.
How'd you feel when you heard
He
that?
did it last episode when he went up there and was like, "Yo, these podcasters, they give us our flowers. We up here on the whatever number they debuted on the iTunes chart, and nobody gave us our flowers. I ain't see none of these podcasters. You know what he's talking about,
Right.
Like you wanted to get. If I'm the top nigga in the game, and a nigga who's on his first freestyle is shooting at me, I'm not responding to you. You got to earn a response at least.
Well, I lean in, not back.
You said what?
I lean in, not back.
You lean into it.
I lean in,
Not
not
back.
back.
He asked you a question though.
Give the dramatic intro. Come on, you see what your boy is.
I already know.
a little bar. So
Look at my boy. Look at my boy.
How do you feel, man? Like Mark asked you when you heard it.
I want to break character for a minute.
Okay.
I want to break character for a minute because could have some fun with this, or you could use it as a really, really, really teachable moment in front of a really large audience. So let me be mature and show some discipline and restraint and lead with, I absolutely love Fat Joe. I have all the respect in the world for Fat Joe. Bought Flo Joe when it dropped. Jedakus.
I knew you was going to Flo Joe.
I bought Flo Joe when it dropped.
No doubt.
Flo Joe was one of the first instrumentals I spit on in like 93, somewhere around there. So I got Firewater, all that. Mm-hmm. So I have a different level of respect for not only Fat Joe, but I'm going to always support anything that Jedakus does.
For sure.
Anything that Kiss does, he has my support.
That's a fact.
Shout out to J1, shout out to Yonkers. For me, in my 40s, it's been really important to unlearn stupid hip-hop ideology. Like, let me start with, there's nothing to even fight about here. Like,
can't work.
Let's start with, we're talking about a game where the tickets were the most expensive Knicks playoff tickets in franchise history.
Y'all argue about tickets. Like
the cheapest ticket in that building was $600, $700, $800.
$874, Joe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Knicks fan. Thank you.
$874.
Yeah, that particular game was a lot. So this is all just like elitist jargon.
It is.
I want to start there.
It's like 4.0 versus 4.6.
Secondly, well, yeah. Secondly, the internet is not like a real place. I would expect Fat Joe to know that. I need more than internet fodder to ever assume that there's really beef with somebody. Me and 50 have over 20 years in. I never thought that would escalate. And if I feel like that, I just need more than some internet chat for me to feel like that, number one. Number two, if you fight in the garden, you're banned for life. You're not doing it again. And if you're tough enough to fight there during a game, then, my nigga, I don't assume any of us millionaire, multi-millionaire, 9-figure people to do that at the garden. I just don't. The lights is too bright. And we there to watch a game, which is the other brilliant concept I have, which may be hard for people to grasp, but if I'm at the Knicks game, it's just because I'm a Knicks fan. I'm not there for the vanity play. I'm not there for the celeb role. I'm not there to be seen. I'm not in the record label seats. I'm not in the Kith seats. I'm not in the comp seats. I'm in the seat that I wanted to purchase, so I bought it. It's really just that simple. I'm not with all the extra hoopla out there. I'm not out here running around moving with the leverage of my management company or trying to be buddy-buddy or friendly with rappers that I'm not really buddy-buddy or friendly with. I'm the walking embodiment of standing on my own too. And you know that, which is why you're using my name on your newly established platform trying to get traction, because I'm the best in the biz. I recognize that too. Lastly, I just don't know what Joe Budden seats mean, and because I have so much relationship equity with Fat Joe, I'll wait for him to tell me. I don't want to assume. On one hand, where I come from, you would want to be seated behind your enemy, if anything.
That's where the logic.
That's the part I didn't follow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be seated in front of him. So, if he was talking about that, I don't really get it, but that's on him. And lastly, maybe Joe Budden seats just means sitting behind somebody you make a lot more than. Until we get clarity on it, we won't really know. But be clear, reimagine how y'all mention my name in some of these conversations. I make a lot more than you niggas. So, if I'm seated behind you, it's by choice, enjoying some popcorn with my baby. I say that with all the respect in the world. So, much love to Fat Joe and Jedakus. I'll continue to support their broadcast, and hopefully everyone out there will continue to do the same. But this is a non-issue, you guys. Everybody back to work. Hey, if this is a non-starter. If this ever comes to be something, then we'll address it later. But Joe and I will talk. This is a non-starter. Salute to all, and go Knicks always. Yeah, like we gotta be. It's important to not let things that you see on the internet rile you up while things are going great, man. That was a non-starter. Shout out to those boys.
And then it's kind of like the guy in the front talking about the guy in the back of him, the second guy, not knowing that there's 300 other rows behind. It's like you almost like disrespect those people.
But wait, dog, if I was sitting in the nosebleeds, I make more than you. Like, my seat should never come up in your conversation. If I was outside in a lawn chair watching on a fucking mobile device, my seat shouldn't come up in none of y'all conversations. That was confusing a little bit, but to each his own.
All right, now Joe was throwing a lot of shade in that response. At first, I thought he was going to take the high road. But then Joe walked it down real slow like he was one of those lawyers at the Diddy trial. And I feel like he was getting at a lot of stuff. Who paid for those seats for you, Fat Joe, to be in that front row? I feel like he was alluding to Joe's team. It's giving him those courtside seats. Is it Rock Nation? Are they paying for Fat Joe to be front row or courtside? Because, you know, a lot of people feel like Fat Joe, once he signed with Rock Nation, some people feel like he sold his soul. You went from beefing with Jay to now working for Jay. But a lot of people did that, right? We can talk about a lot of those New York artists who went from talking crazy about Jay-Z to signing that Rock Nation contract, all right? And I hate to get so deep with y'all, but I'll leave it there. But I also think to myself, on the Joe Budden podcast, they call themselves the Hovengers. And they stand up for Jay-Z all the time. I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't Jay tell his new podcast, hey, slow down, don't be throwing shots at Joe. He's had my back in these podcast streets. I don't know. Now, also, is Joe clout chasing? Is Fat Joe using Joe Budden to promote his new platform? I say a little bit, because I'm thinking, what's the issue? What's the problem between Fat Joe and Joe Budden? And if it was an issue, why didn't Fat Joe say nothing at the Knicks game? He just stayed turned around while 50 and Joe was talking. I feel like if you had an issue, everybody, you know, they hashing out issues. That's your point to, or that's your time to be like, hey, by the way, Joseph Buttons, I got an issue with you too. But instead, Fat Joe just stayed up front in his salmon outfit, okay? It wasn't pink, it was salmon, all right? Now, it also reminds me of when Cam and Mace started having a back and forth with Joe when they first started the podcast. But I'll give Cam and Mace a little bit of bail because I remember Melissa said something about Cam, and I think she was going in the direction of something about Cam doing something to a female. Cam didn't like that, so he started attacking Melissa, and then Joe kind of got into the mix. It was quick, but I remember people thinking, you know, does Cam have to go that hard, or is he using this as an opportunity to promote It Is What It Is? That's his podcast and his sports show. So, you know, it's a lot going on, but what I will say is, remember, when I talked about 50 and Joe at that Knicks game, I talked about the seating. And I do feel like 50 Cent felt like he had the, let's say, the high ground because he was courtside and Joe was behind him. And I looked at a lot. I was looking at the whole scene. And I do remember Fat Joe just looking a little too goofy. And so maybe I should have suspected Fat Joe had an issue at that point in time. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Is it getting messy in the podcast streets? Like the video and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.